What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk a little bit more about Stellar Blade, some stuff that the team Shift Up has been saying, and this is a little bit different than we talked about, a few days ago. It was a lot more info related, right? The whole getting costumes, earning the cosmetics just in-game, not having to pay for it, and it seems like that's kind of reached like the mainstream. I've seen a lot more people tweeting about it recently and being very, very, thankful about it. That kind of is pretty different than what we're seeing from a lot of other games. So there's a few other things to talk about. One is about Eve, the actual, how she looks, and we're going to get there. I want to talk about one article I saw on Push Square talking about single-player games, and this is something, again, I saw kind of online just in general. So it comes, again, from the game director, and he says, "We felt a single-player console game with a definitive ending is still valid and still very important. So we're hoping Stellar Blade will be a significant title that will encourage other Korean developers to see this as a starting point and be inspired for future projects." And he's talked, quite a bit about that, right? We talked about even the success of this game a few days ago, and he had said he kind of wants to do 10 million units, but I think maybe exaggerate a bit. But the idea was that he just wants this to be a success in Korea and also just worldwide, right? But this was kind of taking aim at, because he talked before about the mobile market, right? That's very popular, and we know this, worldwide, yes, but specifically in some territories, mobile is pretty much 95% of what you consider gamers is just mobile players, right? So this is, to me, I mean, it's just all the right things. Really that's kind of the theme here, is hearing this stuff. It doesn't have to be for you, but I feel like they know what people kind of want for this game, and that's, we're going to talk about that with Eve specifically next, but I think they know what's being said. I think they're kind of self-aware in that way, and are they leaning into it? Yes. I mean, you could say whatever you want, I guess, about that, but I feel like they really do know what people want with this specific game, and they're just going all in. At least they're saying the right things. And, and we have talked about, and look, while I've been pretty, I've praised this game, and I think it's actually going to be a pretty darn good game, but I'm going to be honest, right? If the game is not good, well, they said all the right things, but if the game sucks, it sucks, right? So we'll see at the end of the day. But again, I think all the signs, even from what we've visually seen of gameplay, of the story, of just the world, I think this can be definitely, an above average game. Is it going to be game of the year? Highly doubt it. But although it's possible, and I would want it to be a game of the year, I don't think it is going to be, but I've definitely seen people, say that. So that's one thing to talk about, right? That, definitive ending, and even the way it's said is a little odd, but yeah, hopefully games should have, definitive endings. I've said that even for live service games, they should have beginning, middle, end. And if you want to continue the story afterwards, you can do that, but so many games don't actually end the game, right? They rely on the DLC and they rely on live service to finish the story 2 years later, which I think is an absolutely terrible model that I've been against since as long as I can remember, okay? So that's one thing. Next thing is talking about Eve herself. So I'm not going to give specific quotes, although there's one floating around. Insider Gaming did one about paying attention to Eve's backside. And basically, he was just saying that you're going to see that quite often, considering it's a third-person camera. And so they paid special attention to that. But there's other kind of headlines going around, right, where they talked about visually, how she looked and being so attractive. And there was one pretty interesting kind of line there that I do want to delve into. So I think it was him again, right, the director. And he talked about, or maybe it was other people even at the company, but they wanted somebody who looked like this magnified, right? Somebody who looked not even above average, just elite, right? And they say that when they play games, that's what they look for. They look for almost that perfect kind of person, because they don't want an average Joe. They want the best of the best. They're not necessarily looking to relate to someone. And I've definitely seen, I didn't really see any negativity to it on Twitter. In fact, I saw a lot of people saying breath of fresh air. Now, where I would stand on it is I think it's just what they feel. And that's the thing. We talked about that even with literally Eve's looks, right? The people that are going after it, where it's she's too attractive. Well, you get mad when people say things about Aloy or Ellie or Abby or anything like this. If you're allowed to make a character look more say the average Joe, right? And if that's the goal, if that's why they're doing it, you want everybody to look like that. But then when you have somebody that looks like Eve, you want them to be brought down. And the answer, like, where's the correct kind of mindset? Well, in my opinion, it's always been just make it the way you want to make it. It's okay to make characters look like the average not everybody's going to look 10 out of 10, all the time. But if you want somebody to look, if you want like a Geralt or a Nathan Drake to use males, right? Like you're going to have these like overly, like they're more attractive, or they're just not the average Joe. They're like more of like the elite species. And I mean, that's what Hollywood has been for a long time, right? Like so many, whether it's actors or actresses, right? They're definitely more, or they try to present themselves, or it's the way that Hollywood wants them to be, or, whatever mentality you want to have. But I think it is kind of natural, and the correct, again, or at least my mindset, is it's just based off what they want to do. If they want to have it be like this, then it's going to be like this. I would actually, too, disagree with the idea that nobody wants, like, because I think the line was everybody wants like a sexualized kind of thing. It's like, well, I don't know if everybody is. I do think there is some relatability. If you see, like, say the seeing somebody like you, I don't think that's a be all end all. I think a lot of people get wrapped up in that, because I think you can see traits, and somebody doesn't literally have to look like you to relate to them. I may relate to Eve, or I might relate to like a Max Caulfield in Life is Strange or something. Like, you can relate to these people without really, without being the same gender as them, without having, anything like that. It could just be maybe their personality or what they're going through. Those things can connect to you. It goes beyond the gender or the color of your skin or whatever. And I think that is really what gets a lot of people, so hurt, I guess, online. So again, where it all kind of lies, make it how you want to make it. And I do think, again, like, they're going for it. That's the point here, right? Like, they knew that people saw something literally in Eve, right? From like the very first trailer. They knew people saw something, and it's like they're going all in. And I think it's okay to go all in. Again, though, it does need to be more about the game. And as we get closer and closer, when the game comes out, Eve and how she looks and the costumes and all like that, that will help. And I even like tweeted it, like they're I think they're really trying to go after a certain, group, and I think they're going to get their way. Like, I think people will buy it, maybe just for those reasons. But for like mainstream success, massive amounts of success and sales and legacy, literally having a legacy, the game needs to be good, right? It can't just be about an attractive lead character. That can be part of it, but the game needs to genuinely be good in order to, like, if we're going to be talking about it, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, we might talk about, I guess, for Eve, but we should hopefully be talking about for that and much, much more, right? For the quality of the game. So it's definitely interesting, though. Like, these lines, or these kind of like headlines that are out there online, you don't see them, especially this way, because they're taking an angle that we haven't really seen in games in a while. Because again, it's normally the other way. It's normally characters don't have to be attractive or make your character not attractive. It's more of that we see so often, and that's okay. I mean, that kind of mentality maybe isn't okay, but you can have, again, like more average Joe kind of people, but we haven't really seen this kind of push from them, and they're creating like their own press in this way, right? We haven't really seen this in a while, so it is very, I would say, a different kind of feel. So let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.